Hello, hi, and welcome to another episode of the Emma Gunn Show, in the episode that we shall refer to henceforth as the one where Emma is standing up. Why am I standing up? This is only relevant if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching the video on Substack, but it is 32 degrees here. We are in the middle of a heat wave. I normally sit on my lovely office chair, which is made of leather. Not happening today. I'm also wearing what is essentially a nightie, because it was quite a nice nightie, Massimo Dutti nightie, thank you very much. But if I sit in it, this lovely crisp white cotton is going to, well, I'd say go see-through, but I'm worried it might actually disintegrate. Such is the heat that is emanating from me today. It is a very, very hot day. You may be able to hear the whir of the fan as well, but without it, I would simply expire. Anyway, what are we going to talk about this week? Let's talk about, you may have noticed that with the weight loss slash challenge slash effort slash whatever, as I said to you last week, I kind of did something silly because I joined a gym a couple of weeks ago, and the truth of the matter is I feel completely different. When pre-joining the gym, I could feel that I was getting smaller. I could feel that I was getting leaner. I enjoyed how that felt. It felt like the cumulative effect of all of that effort of prioritizing protein, of really cutting down on fat, of being really mindful of my carbohydrate intake, of being mindful of my fiber intake. It felt like suddenly I got to this point where, oh, actually, I feel a little bit smaller. I can see that my legs are changing. I can feel all of these things. And it felt appropriate because we were nearly 3 months into it. So it was like, good. I want to be able to see and feel that it wasn't just about scale weight. When I joined the gym, something happened, and it's wrong-footed me a little bit, but at the same time it hasn't, because common sense prevails, but at the same time there's also a huge emotional aspect to this. And it's also a little bit of a learning curve for me, because this is the first time I'm training in this way. This is the first time I've been in a gym and really been working with a goal to build muscle. Anyway, the point is that since I joined the gym 2 weeks ago, I feel swollen. And I should feel swollen. I should feel slightly plumper. I should be able to feel that pump. But I came from upper body today, so I did a lot of chest, arms and back. And everything feels quite pumped, and the best word I can use to describe it is swollen. So that feeling that I had, that was like, yes, this is now, you're feeling this way because of all of the effort, you're feeling a little bit smaller, things are looking a bit leaner. I've gone in, even though it's different action to get to a similar result, it's got this side effect, which is that I have the pump from working my muscles. I've also gone from training with a selection of weights, albeit, the 8 kilogram and 10 kilogram weights are not small weights. I think they're quite heavy, but I'm now in the gym. Today, for example, I was using machines and I was lifting and pushing and pulling, to be more precise, weights much higher than my dumbbells. So obviously I am training in a way that is completely different. And in addition, I've gone from things like bicep curls, hammer curls, chest presses on the floor, to rows with a machine. I've gone to cable chest presses. I've gone to cable tricep pull downs. I've gone to cable bicep curls, where I'm able to lift a bit more. So I can feel, again, if you're watching on YouTube, I can feel, God, that looks like a van driver's tan, but it really isn't. It's because I've been bitten by mosquitoes. But I have that swollen feeling. Common sense prevails though, and so I know that this is not fat. I know that I am not gaining weight in a way that is undoing the work that I've done up to this point. Any kind of scale weight increase is because of this inflammation, this storing of water, this glycogen, all of these things that go hand in hand with strength training, and in strength training in a way that is a step up from what I have been doing before. And I don't mind that. Now, on Monday when I did my check-in, I was like, yeah, we're at 9.5 pounds. This is fantastic. We're so close. But the truth of the matter is, in the last 2 weeks, so all of the scale weights in the previous 3 months had been pretty consistent. There had been some little jumps, but the trend had definitely been down. Since I've been training, there can be a 3 pound gain in one day and then a 3 pound drop the next day. So this tells me that my body is responding to this kind of effort, this kind of work in a really different way, and nothing is bad, nothing is wrong. But again, I think I might have said this last week, but maybe switching to a gym at this point in the effort might not have been the best idea. I think if I hadn't, we would have been at the £10 and it would have been like, yay, let's have a celebration, let's have a party. But I'm not. And in a really bizarre way, I'm actually kind of glad, because even though I think I would have got to my goal, and I think that the way that I did it with the 5 at-home workouts, very much focusing on strength, the high protein, high fiber, low fat diet, all of those things, I think they all worked. But they were steering me towards this whole plan, which is to create a body recomp, or to try to support my body to be as healthy as possible in order to be metabolically efficient, in order to hopefully help navigate things like perimenopause and the menopause. So I think we just have to remember why we're doing it, and actually going into the gym and being able to build more lean muscle, being able to get a bit more definition is really exciting. And actually the whole reason this happened is because my lovely coach, Emma Story-Gordon, we trained together, we were in a gym, and at one point I said, do you get I always can't believe I said it like this, but I was sort of saying, so you get a better workout in the gym? And she sort of looked at me and she was like, yeah. And that's what did it. And I think when I then said to her, like 2 hours later, by the way, I joined the gym, she said, you are going to see such a difference. You are going to have so many gains. And I feel very excited about that. I feel very excited about seeing muscle definition. I mean, I'm looking in the viewfinder on my camera now, and I'm like, if I go like that, you can't see my deltoids, but I'm excited about potentially like doing that and having a little pop of deltoid going on. And when I'm training now, when I'm doing things like tricep pull downs, or when I'm using the machines, I think, oh, I can actually feel those muscles being trained. Dumbbells, free weights, all really great. And I've been really happy with the work that I've been doing here at home with the workouts. I've been following Caroline Gervin for ages. But obviously you're training the same muscles in the same way over and over again, even if you have rest days, even if you increase the weight. And this is a completely different modality. This is a completely different thing. And as I said last week, I think it's been quite good to be humbled and to go into the gym and to think, right, I'm going to lift heavy on that, and then realize that you have to put it on the lowest setting. And I think, great. I've got a lot of work to do here, but I don't mind that. I think it's going to be really exciting to see and feel that progression. And I think the only thing I've got to figure out with the gym is, how do I share that with you? Because obviously when I'm at home, hey, here's the link to my workout, here's the workout I've just done, here's how it affects your heart rate, here's how it feels, blah, blah, blah. I can do all of that. But I don't really want to be doing that in the gym, because as someone who has gone to the gym for years but hasn't gone for 6 years, I was always a member of a gym beforehand. I think a lot of people on Instagram especially are like, you've never set foot in a gym before? Wow, you need to know this. It's like, well, no, I have, but this time it's slightly different. But I've definitely noticed a shift in how people are just on their phones, and I don't want to be another person on their phone. So I just need to think about, how do I do this? Maybe I need to make friends with one of the PTs and just say, can you just take a couple of videos of me when I'm training? Thanks. And then I can do a voiceover or something. Maybe we'll think. But I know that quite a few people have already said, what are your splits? What are your training? Blah, blah, blah. So I think I'm going to share that at some point, probably on my Substack, because it'd be the easiest place for me to put it. It'll take a bit of time and effort to put together, but that's where I'll put it. I'll link to it. But I shall let you know when that is all up and running. But that's where we are with it. I feel really good about the progress that I've made so far. But I also feel, and I think I said this on my Instagram post yesterday, I feel slightly detached from the scale weight in a way that I wasn't expecting, especially this close to goal, in that if I get on the scales next week and I'm 4 pounds heavier, but this week I've been able to increase my weight a little bit, or I've been able to tax myself in the gym, and I can feel, as I said, I really can feel the swell. I can feel that I'm holding on to water a little bit. I can feel a few physiological changes. So if that then shows up in scale weight, I don't really care. But it also doesn't mean that I've regained half of what I've lost. Do you know what I mean? So I've got this like slight push-pull about it all, but I think realistically this whole effort, bizarrely, has made me sort of put the scale weight down, and I can look in the mirror and say, well, that's looking leaner, that's looking tighter, that's looking more toned. my quads, for example, I definitely see already a little bit more definition in them. I haven't actually looked behind to check out my glutes, but maybe I'll do that, not now, but maybe I'll do that and have a full inspection of what's happening in my rear quadrant. But I'm definitely already seeing and feeling a pump, a swelling, and it's just interesting to see how that will evolve and adapt, and how my diet will need to be tweaked a little bit, because I think possibly the deficit that I was on was fine when I was doing that kind of training, the sort of 5 days a week, sort of half an hour, very concentrated, almost cardio-esque strength training. But now I'm doing this, I can definitely feel that my appetite has just gone through the roof. So I'm having to think, right, well, what can I add in that will still keep me in a deficit, but so that I am still getting the results that I want. So there's been a little bit of tinkering. As I said, probably not the best thing to completely change the way that I trained halfway, or not halfway through, like 9/10 of the way through. But at the same time, it's been quite eye-opening, it's been quite helpful. And again, it's made me detach from that ultimate goal of the scale weight, which, as I said right at the beginning, it was just an arbitrary sort of, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, in the same way that you say, I'll turn the light off and stop reading my book when I get to the end of this chapter. So actually, I think it's been quite good to change things up, because there's been a reason to, there's now something to work towards that's beyond something as sort of simple as a scale weight metric. Now it's like, okay, now we want to see some definition. Now we want to see that deltoid pop. Sorry for people on YouTube who keep seeing me twist my arm, but I really want to see that deltoid pop, and get the definition in my arms a little bit more defined. Anyway, that's where we are with the challenge. If you have any questions about it, if you think, Emma, you haven't included this on your Instagram, I know the only thing I'll say is, I know some of you were thinking, what I eat in a day. They're a real pain to film, actually. And I also recently, I just haven't been consistently at home. So I might do my breakfast and my lunch. So I've been putting those up, but then I might go to a work thing, or I might see a friend for dinner. So I need to actually plan, right, when's the next day that I'm going to be having all 3 meals at home? Right, then I will make sure that I'm on top of it. Or I'll just film them all separately and do a breakfast, lunch and dinner on different days, but say this is typically what I would. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Anyway, let me know what you're missing. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to answer. Do you want me to do like a live Q&A on Instagram, for example? That could be quite fun. All of this, obviously, as much as it's my life, my challenge, and I'm enjoying doing it, and it's for my own whatever, but you're here too, and I really appreciate that you've been along for the ride. So if you have anything that you want me to include, that you want me to make sure that it's in the content, whether it's on Instagram or the podcast, Substack, let me know. office@emmaguns.com. DM me on Instagram, where I'm at @emmaguns, or comment underneath my Substack. You can also comment underneath this video on YouTube. Now, one thing I really don't enjoy is criticising something for the sake of it. And if you have been watching And Just Like That, which is the spin-off / follow-up / continuation of Sex and the City, you will probably be aware that it has been roundly criticised as being out of touch, sort of with no linear storytelling, blah, 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 all of those things. And I must admit, I watch it and think, what were you thinking? Like, did you know what this seemed like? Did you heard like what's going on? I just don't necessarily understand. And I think someone made a really good point about the fact that they have gone very, very hard on the press. Sarah Jessica Parker, Cynthia Nixon, Kristen Davis, they've all been out with the other actors doing a lot of press, which they haven't done before. So maybe there's an acknowledgement of, we know we really need to sell this series because actually people are tapping out. But that's not really, so I don't want to sort of rag on And Just Like That, but I wrote a piece for my Substack, and I'll put the link in the show notes here. But essentially, I felt a sense of unease about And Just Like That from the very first series. And I remember saying it ages ago. It might have even been to Ruth Crilly that I was talking about it, just saying, it's made me feel scared of getting older. It's the first time there has been a representation of women slightly older than me that has made me fearful of getting to that age. And that just seems completely opposed to what Sex and the City did in the first instance. So Sex and the City started in 1998. I would have been just about to turn 21. I was on the brink of starting a life in London, and that sort of fantasy reality of Carrie, Miranda, Charlotte and Samantha was I don't think you could help but watch it and think, is that what life's going to be like when I've got a job and when I live in my own place and all of those sorts of things. And there was something, I think Carrie Bradshaw is 7 years older than me, 7 or 8 years older than me. So there's a nice little amount of sort of, oh, I've got time to get there. And when she was a columnist for a New York publication, I forget which one, was it the New Yorker? New York Magazine? But there was like, oh, I've got time to get there. By the time I'm her age, maybe I can have a column. And all of those sorts of things, you sort of thought, oh, that's really interesting. They also made you think that being heartbroken and wasting your time over, agonizing over pointless men or men who are wrong for you, they validated the fact that we're all just going to do that. It was just basically like they were flawed. We knew who they were, we understood who they were, and we probably saw bits of ourselves in all of them, in each of them, in their own sort of funny ways. But there was something quite comforting and reassuring about their trials and tribulations, because when you then encountered your own, you could kind of, it's a little bit like someone always, not someone always says, there's that expression that there's always like an anecdote from Friends. Like Friends was very much of that moment of, you can be having a deep and meaningful with a friend and you can think, it's like that episode of Friends, and it somehow gives you clarity on a situation, or it gives you a common ground to explore something maybe emotional or whatever. And I think Sex and the City had a similar power. But it made me excited about the future. It made me think anything was possible. It made me think that even if I got knocked down, I could get right back up again and I'd be okay. And Just Like That has done is, it's like, where are those women? Where's Carrie? Carrie, who was like the girl about town with the column, who people wanted to speak to, who they wanted to be in her column, or they wanted to be reading her column, they wanted to dress like her. Like, what's happened to her? She's now grotesquely wealthy, and dare I say it, not by her own efforts. And she's sort of seems really full of herself, and sort of likes the fact that she's technologically behind. Well, not likes the fact, but it's like, oh, I'm not going to embrace that sort of thing. And just sort of, there's almost an element of bumblingness about them all. Charlotte as well. And Charlotte was this incredible art gallery. She wasn't the owner. What do you call an art gallery person who... Anyway, she worked at an art gallery. Obviously really knowledgeable, good at spotting talent, good at knowing what good art was. And now it's sort of very tokenistic. And it's like, well, wouldn't she have become something grander? Wouldn't she have been something incredible? And Miranda, the only self-made one of all of them, apart from Samantha, who obviously isn't in And Just Like That, she's regressed. She's the only one who doesn't have a stable home, which is like, she's self-made. She's highly qualified. She was the first one to buy a property, I think. Yes, she was. And yet now she's sort of bumbling through life as if she hasn't had the last 30 years of experience. And I just sort of think, God, Miranda was the one who probably, in that sort of dynamic where like Carrie was the cool one when they were in their 30s, and maybe Charlotte was the cool one because she lived on the Upper East Side and had the sort of the perfect life, if you like. But maybe in the 50s it should have been Miranda who kind of became not the leader of the pack, but just kind of that dynamic change, because she was the one who had done so much, achieved so much, had a family, maintained this incredible professional career. I honestly thought that when she came back, she'd have her own law firm, probably female-only law firm, and she'd have like incredible cases under her belt. Probably would be have had profiles in magazines, New York Magazine or whatever it is, and yet they just sort of, they're bumbling. And it's the first time that I've looked at women older than me in that kind of space and thought, oh God, no, please don't let that happen to me. And it just feels so at odds with what Sex and the City kind of built up in me that, anyway, I've gone back and I'm doing a rewatch of Sex and the City, and it's a great way to cleanse your palate And Just Like That. And it's also a really nice way to remember why we fell in love with those characters in the first place, because they were really special and they were about a time in our lives and their lives, albeit, yeah, I know, hyper real and not real at all, but it was a really, it's been quite nostalgic to go back and remember. And also, I said this in the Substack piece, but the amount of phrases I use that I learned from that show. And I can remember, as I'm rewatching a character will say something and I'll think, oh, that's where I got it. That's why I use that. Even if it's just like when Stanford Blatch said something to Carrie and she went, no, you didn't. That was the first time I'd heard it said like that, and I know that I do that with people. And I'm like, oh God, that was something I learned from Carrie. Or like so many Samanthaisms, I can't even tell you. I miss Kim Cattrall, and if I could wish for anything, is that obviously there was some kind of division and who knows what. It feels very icky and a bit, but if they don't have the intellectual property rights over Samantha Jones, somebody, and I'm looking at you, Mindy Kaling, or I'm looking at you, Schitt's Creek, I've forgotten his name now, but you know who I mean, David. Someone needs to write the Kim Cattrall / Samantha Jones spin-off of her with her PR firm in London. That's what we need. That's what you need. That's what you want. I would watch it. I would even watch the bootleg version that's like Samantha Jonesy or something, just kind of like a little bit not Samantha Jones if they can't actually use Samantha Jones. Just bring her back. Let's see her in London doing fabulous things, being Samantha but many years on, and hopefully inspiring and not frightening women about the menopause and growing older and I can't. I've lost the amount of ways I can think of that I thought, you're regressing. Why are you regressing? You were quite brilliant women. Why are you not brilliant women? Is it just because you're older? If that's the case, that's really, really sad. Okay, let's bring this episode into land with some lovely product recommendations, because I've been first of all, I had a massive clear out. I think I might have told you about this the other day. My office was just getting very cluttered, and I had a massive clear out, and I was able to sort of create some order in the drawers that contain all the beauty samples. And I have been slowly and methodically trying to work my way through just sampling things, trying things. And there are a few products that I really have to bring to your attention. The first is the James Read, or Self Glow by James Read. So James Read, God, I've known James Read for 100 years. He's one of the nicest people in the industry. He means an awful lot to me. He had an eponymous tanning range, and then he came back after that one ended with Self Glow. And for the YouTubers, you just missed me. Well, you just saw me duck out of shot. These products are absolutely beautiful. So the thing about James is, at a time when all of the high street brands were coming out with the darkest tan possible, James was the man who was doing all of the A-list red carpet fake tans, and he was giving people these very believable, very sun-kissed looking finishes. So not deep at all, not 16% DHA kind of heavy tan. We're talking the kind of tan that made your skin look really incredibly beautiful. And Self Glow is like that as well. It's subtle, it's not aggressive tanning, it's not put it on in the evening and wake up completely changed in terms of skin tone, which, don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for that. But these, I'm holding up the Dusk Till Dawn. This is the overnight facial. But loads of these products, all of these products you can either use on their own, you can mix them in with other skincare. Because James absolutely loves skincare, and he's launching his own facial rituals and all of those sorts of things where you'll get a glow as well as that sort of hydration and lifting and all of those incredible things that you get from a facial. You'll also get that lovely warmth and glow as well, because there will be the DHA in the products. But these are truly exceptional. They don't smell, they go on really easily, they go on and they feel like very high-end skincare. So if you are the sort of person who uses fake tan and you're never sure if you're using it right, this is a really important or good range to look at, because you really can't screw this up. It's really, really beautiful stuff. The other thing that I started using the other day is the Zip Halo. So I have had a few dalliances with these sort of nano microcurrent devices that are supposed to lift and firm, and I've never stuck with them. The last one was the New Face. I found that really clunky. I didn't really, it was constantly needed recharging. This is a much more sleek, streamlined and very quick and easy to use device, and I've only used it for 3 days, so I'm not here saying, oh my god, it's changed everything. But my first impressions are its ease of use means that I'm far more likely to use it. So for example, and this never happened before with the New Face, which is probably a bit bigger than, say, an Apple mouse, or just a computer mouse, a little bit bigger than that with those 2 electrodes on the end. This is sort of, I would say, a little bit thinner, probably about the same length as an Apple mouse if you have an Apple mouse. Just for reference, I don't have the Halo with me, but I do have an Apple mouse, which is like that. So it's a little bit leaner, a little bit smaller than that. And it's so much easier to use. And you just put it on, the light comes on, and it vibrates every time you have to move it. So it vibrates, you move it slowly along the jawline, for example. It vibrates again, you go back to the beginning, and then you move slowly up the face, jaw, cheeks, forehead, etc. And I've just found that in the morning, when it's there in my bathroom in front of me, I will brush my teeth, and then I'll take my retainers out, put the little tablet in to clean them in the little glass, and then I'll do that. And I just think, oh, that's really slipped very effortlessly and easily into my routine. And as somebody who isn't so worried about aging, despite what I said about and just like that, to want to take a full step or a full leap into any kind of aesthetic work, this to me is the thing that makes more sense. It lifts, it firms, it reduces the appearance of wrinkles when used consistently over time. So a little bit like my workouts, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to be consistent with it to see if it actually does show a noticeable difference. So that's something I really wanted to flag because I've just been so impressed with it. The other thing is that I received in PR the other day the Lisa Eldridge, the new eyeshadow palette. Now there's also a lipstick called Toasted, which is like the most 90s nude I have ever seen. The only reason I haven't put this on, it's in my office and I haven't applied this yet, and I'm showing it to camera if you're watching on YouTube or Substack. The only reason I'm not wearing this is because it is so blinking hot and I simply cannot. It will turn into a paste on my face. I'm telling you, I am wearing Reason from top to bottom today. I am wearing the Lisa Eldridge mascara actually, because nothing else will stay. That's a really beautiful texture, and it seems to stick in the heat, which is fantastic. But the Lisa Eldridge products are just incredible, and this is the. Is it Sahara? Oh, it's Desert Gleam. I knew there was a desert in there somewhere. But it's these beautiful khakis and browns and these velvet textures and these also really quite incredibly strong, not glittery, but vibrant, almost like lightning reflective, like a silver and a gold. So as soon as the temperature drops, which is apparently tomorrow, apparently it's going to drop by about 6 degrees tomorrow, thank goodness, because genuinely, the back of this nightie is not a nightie, but the back of it is, I'm almost certain, see-through, which will mean that I'll have to reconsider very quickly what I wear out into London, because I cannot be walking around in a see-through white skirt. But as soon as the temperature has dropped and I'm able to apply makeup, I will be using that. I will probably be doing a full look on Instagram because it is just so absolutely beautiful. And the lipstick as well, that Toasted, that beautiful 90s brown is just absolutely incredible. And then finally, I'm somebody who hasn't really embraced K-beauty because I thought it was a bit of a faff. I thought 11 steps, who's got time for that? I'm a cleanse and retinol girl when it comes to my evening routine. But I recently started using a lot of the Yepoda products. I'm just holding this up. And each and every single one has really impressed me, and particularly these Perfect pads. I'm really lucky in that I'm doing some work with them. I've been doing some sponsored posts, not here. But these are like, it's got a little pair of tweezers in the lid, and so you just take out the pads, and the pads are heart-shaped, and one side is textured. And they've got this combination, this really gentle but really quite effective combination of acids, so alpha hydroxys, beta hydroxys, PHAs. It's also infused in rose water, so it's really soft and gentle but quite, and basically I've noticed that since I've been using them, my skin just not only feels really smooth, but it's definitely a bit brighter. And yet it's not like some of those quite strong acids or brightening products where you can really, like, your skin's like, okay, we've had enough of that. Like, it feels very gentle and nourishing and hydrating at the same time. It's getting that result that I'm used to getting with something that can make my skin sort of sting or feel a little bit raw. So definitely take a look at those. I'll obviously link to them in the show notes, but just for your time and attention, if you're in the mood for something delicious in your skincare world, then I highly recommend those. Right, so I'm not going to take up too much more time this week. Also, genuinely, I am melting. It's so hot, and I've had to shut all the windows so that you can't hear all the kerfuffle outside. So I shall leave you now, but if you have any thoughts about weight loss, training, if you can identify with that feeling of being pumped, which is completely opposite from that feeling of kind of getting that you're getting smaller, then let me know, because I could probably do with a little bit of like hand holding with that. If you have watched And Just Like That and you feel the same, let's talk about that also. Comment, email, however you want to get in touch. All of the ways to get in touch will be in the show notes. But just to reiterate, office@emmaguns.com. Comment below this Substack, comment below this video on YouTube. You can reply on Spotify, and you can DM me on Instagram where I'm at Emma Guns, which is where I like to chat to you. So please do get in touch if you would like to. But that, if you have any other product recommendations, or if you've seen anything new out in the beauty world and you think, I wonder if Emma's tried that, I wonder what she thinks of it, also let me know. And if I do have it, or if I can get my hands on it and review it, I will. How about that? How's that for a deal? Anyway, it's been so lovely to spend this time for you. Thank you so much. The episode where I stood the whole way through, because sitting down just isn't an option in this dress and that leather chair. So thank you for being here. I will see you on the next one.